Thank you for listening to Inspired and Admired.
Hello and welcome to Inspired and Admired. My name is Matt Truman, and this is episode 17. Today my guest is David Wilson. He is a candidate for mayor in the city of Huber Heights. He'll be going up against Jeff Gore, November 7th, 2017. Don't forget to vote, people. That's why we're doing these podcasts. I would be remiss if I did not mention yesterday, or Monday as it were, September 11th, 16 years since the tragedy of September 11th, 2001. I hope you had time, took a minute to remember all those lives that were lost and remember why we are who we are. We come together in times like that. So, and also, September 11th, 2012, the sacrifices that those men made and their families, I don't know. My prayers go out to all the families affected. Also in other news, the Huber Heights Ward 3 representative, Tyler Starline, has chosen to not seek re-election. His opponent, Seth Morgan, will move on unopposed. I did reach out to Mr. Morgan on his campaign Facebook page. I have not heard back from him yet. If I do, I will try to get him here on the podcast. Maybe he can let you folks know what he plans for the next few years. There's that. Now, some very, very, very exciting news. Inspired and Admired has an exclusive right here. Super wonderful, fantastic news to share with everyone tonight. However, you have to promise me that you will not say anything until you either see it on Facebook or in the newspapers. Okay, you promise me. Here it is. I don't know how many of you have been listening to Inspired and Admired, how many episodes you go back. If you do listen, episode number 2, I did a podcast with the commander of the Miami Valley Young Marines. His name is Keegan Miller. Now, we talked about a lot of things. Go to episode 2, check it out. We talked about a lot of things. One of them being a national award for the Miami Valley Young Marines. A big, huge deal, okay? Now, I hold in my hand a memorandum from the Office of the Assistant Secretary of Defense. On behalf of the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness, I am pleased to announce the winners of the 27th Annual Secretary of Defense Community Drug Awareness Awards and the 2017 Secretary of Defense Fulcrum Shield Award. The winners are listed below. I bet you can guess who's listed below. The 2017 Fulcrum Shield Award winner is the Miami Valley Young Marines from Huber Heights, Ohio. That's right. That's the exclusive we have. I couldn't be more proud of those guys. The group I worked with, the Huber Heights Veterans Project, teamed up with the Miami Valley Young Marines. I got to get to know some of those kids, man, and they're really great. Keegan Miller puts a ton of work into that program. They do a ton of things for not only Huber Heights, but the surrounding area, the Miami Valley. Okay, I talked to Keegan yesterday. And it was really great to hear, that they won that award. This is a national award that, probably, I don't know, you'll have to ask Keegan, but hundreds of youth organizations apply for this award, and they were chosen. Congratulations to Keegan Miller. Congratulations to all the Miami Valley Young Marines. And you know what? Congratulations to Huber Heights, because that one, a lot of those kids are from Huber Heights. This is a big deal. And like I said, keep this on the down low until it's out in the public eye. All right. Until it's on Facebook and in the Huber Heights Courier and everything like that. So yeah, that was the exclusive for all the listeners of Inspired and Admired. Go check out episode number 2. If you have young kids, look into the program. It's excellent. Talk to Keegan Miller and all the folks at the Miami Valley Young Marines. Now that that's over with, we're about 6.5 minutes into the beginning of the episode. Here is Mr. David Wilson and myself. Enjoy the podcast. I am here with David Wilson. He is the candidate for mayor in the city of Huber Heights. Mr. Wilson, thank you for joining the podcast.
And thank you for having me on. Thank you.
All right. Well, we're doing this series of podcasts. I'm glad you joined us here. Give us a little bit of background information about yourself. Tell us a little bit about where you came from, family, that sort of thing.
Well, first of all, I want to start off by saying my wife and I extend our hearts and prayers out to everybody affected by the Hurricane Harvey and now the Hurricane Irma situation. I mean, it's a tremendous tragedy, and I love the fact that Huber Heights has contributed or been a participant in reaching out to these people with their aid and assistance. So, and I want to give credit to everybody in Huber Heights that's been doing that. So, but to get back to myself, I grew up in Montgomery County, or southern Montgomery County. For the last 27 years, I've lived in Huber Heights. I've been a homeowner for the last 24 years. I just recently, back in August, celebrated my 24th wedding anniversary with my wife, Edith. And we just got one daughter, and she does live in Huber Heights. And but as far as my background goes, for the last over 5+ years, I've been serving the citizens of Huber Heights as a commissioner on the Huber Heights Planning Commission. Prior to that, I was elected by the citizens of Ward 6 to serve as their city council representative from 2010 to 2011. And the year prior to that, 2009, I served 1 year on the City Board of Zoning Appeals. So as you can see, I've got a certain amount of experience that is relevant to, being able to step into the job and get things going. I mean, it's not totally unfamiliar to me at all. I'm very familiar with the way our city government works.
Yeah.
I do have additional experience for 5 years as a president of my homeowners association and 5 years as a treasurer of my homeowners association here at Evergreen Woods. As far as my line of work and my background, I have a 33-year-long career in production scheduling and inventory control. I love my line of work because I get to work with people all day and solve problems, every day. And I think my work experience is relevant too, because for what I just said, my whole every day I go to work, it's to, work with people and find out a problem and resolve a problem and find a solution for it so we can make things run smoothly. So I really do think my work experience is relevant to this position that I'm going for.
So, yeah, you sound like you have a tremendous amount of experience. How was your time on council? How was that like?
Well, it's not like it is today where the meetings are, many hours long and everything. It's the meetings were shorter at the time. I think there was a little bit less controversy at the time. But then again, I think that's because a lot of our citizens are becoming more aware of our community and our city and what's going on. And so I think that's why we're seeing more people participate in going to the council meetings and more people speak up and everything.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
As far as back in 2010-11, I don't want to say it was rather routine. The big thing that was back on council then was feral cats.
Okay.
It just kept coming back up and coming back up, and it's just like, oh, come on.
Yeah, that's always been an issue for some. Yeah,
I think for a lot of communities it is, not just Huber Heights.
Right.
For a lot of communities.
With all this experience, and you've been on council, what made you decide to run this time? How'd that come about?
Well, I feel like I've sat on the sidelines long enough. I feel like the time is right to bring my background and experience together and make a positive impact on our community. I truly believe if a city is not growing, it's dying. I think our current growth is barely enough to keep up with our job losses that we've had so far. So if elected, I will work to bring back responsible growth to our city to try to get us, I don't want it to be like crazy radical growth. I just want it to be nice, responsible growth in the sense of that, get everybody's property values maintained or get better. And like I said, just grow our city in a nice, responsible way.
Yeah, that's great. So what do you think right now, give us some ideas that what Huber could work on to make things better?
Well, the three things I'm basically campaigning on, and these are just the beginnings. I mean, there's many more things than that because the city, our city's a little bit more complex than what most people think. But the very first thing is I think we need an economic development director. Currently, we have one. One of our assistant city managers. It's part of their job description, but I just don't see very much going on with that particular responsibility, within the city right now. So I'm thinking that we need a full-time economic development director who's on the phone all day, calling the existing businesses in Huber Heights, calling outside the city, and trying to attract businesses to come in and, they basically sell our city, is what I want them to do. Mm-hmm. And one of the very first things I want to do is have him call up some kind of franchise associated with Starbucks and get us a Starbucks in here. I've had so many people when I go to the farmer's market, when I went to the Marigold Festival, and I meet people in the streets, I keep getting asked that repeatedly, and it's just like, okay, I'll make that part of my campaign. We'll try to bring a Starbucks in Huber Heights. But we have one at Kroger's, but I'm talking about one where you can drive through. Sure.
Yeah, the one at Kroger's, you have to go inside and still.
Yeah, then the other thing I think we need then is after we get a zoning director then is I think we need to get our zoning really doesn't have much teeth into it, okay? I recently met a gentleman who was trying to sell his house, and I went and visited him. He's got a really nice house down in a little bit southern part of town, like south of Fishburg. But he couldn't sell his house because across the street there was a house that had the windows all boarded up. And so when he told this story and he explained it, he said that he's called the city about the boarded up window, saying it's affecting his ability to sell his house.
Yeah.
And the part that shocked me was he said that the plywood has been in the window for 6 years.
Holy moly.
So I asked him, I said, when you contacted the city, what did they say? And they said it was acceptable. So apparently somewhere along the way our zoning is dropping the ball on some things, and this particular is that we don't really have a limitation on if you board up a window, say it got damaged or whatever, you board up a window, there's no time limitation on when it has to finally be repaired and restored back to being a glass window. So I think our zoning really needs to be reviewed, and a lot of that will go through the planning commission and then come on up back at the city council to be voted on. But we need to get some teeth into our zoning because that's affecting everybody's property value, not just the guy who has a broken window. That's his property value's gone down, but everybody around that person. And for my example, the one gentleman was trying to sell his house. He couldn't sell his house because of that. It was so ugly.
Right. Yeah,
so we need some teeth on our zoning for sure.
That has been a hot topic, the zoning issues. And, I hope if anybody is, whoever is listening, I hope that, you get that word out there, that zoning issues are a problem. So, great.
Yeah.
So,
I have one more.
Please do.
I think there's the chain of command between the YMCA, who's supposed to be our Parks and Recreation director, and then our Parks and Rec board, and then the City Public Works Department. I'll be honest with you, I see a total disconnect between those three. And what I want to do is go back and starting with the review of the contract with the YMCA and just how is this supposed to work. It just seems like there's something that's not linked together. It's not connected. It just seems like the three entities seem to all work independently, and yet I think they're supposed to all work together as like a group and like a team.
Sure.
And I'll give you one for example, like I've been to the Parks and Recreation meetings, and one time I did see a representative from the Public Works Department there. One time I did see somebody. But I would think that every single meeting that somebody from the Public Works Department should be at every meeting. But that's one of the things I want to work on is I want to get that connection. I want to make that connection, and so that it flows. So that when you see something wrong with one of our parks, then you can already know that it's going to go through the YMCA, it's going to go through the Parks and Rec Board, it's going to go down to the Public Works Department, and it's going to get fixed.
So what do you think? Maybe more staffing, or to help bridge that gap? Maybe.
I don't know we need more staffing. It's